Electrocast.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back once again for your listening pleasure. It is the Power Rankings. It's missing the point. It's some guys talking into microphones about football, about the NFL specifically. I mean, there are other football leagues around the world, but unfortunately, just due to time constraints, we keep ourselves locked into the NFL here on Missing the Point. It's a very special episode this week, all the way over from the Check My Oil podcast on this same feed. If you're ever interested in any hot UFC MMA takes, we have a very special guest. Mr. Matt Wilcox is here. Matt, how's it going? Your first time on the Power Rankings show.
It is. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be a part of this. I feel like it's a long time coming for me and you to fight about football in front of fans. So
I bet we agree on everything. Just to credential Matt slightly for the listeners at home. Matt is a Patriots fan. Do you still season tickets?
I do indeed. I do. Section 140, row 12.
Yeah, look, he's got season tickets, and I think he still uses them from time to time to watch the turgid fucking Patriots play their particular brand of football from time to time these days. So we're going to talk about the Pats. Yeah, we're going to talk about the Pats today. We're going to talk about the Bears, but we always start with news. And the big news this week actually happened today, the day of recording. The New York Football Jets have decided that they want to part ways with GM Joe Douglas. My first instinct, Matt, when I saw this was to think, oh, is Aaron Rodgers just like getting to blame another person and like that person's going to get fired now? Because first it was the head coach, Robert Saleh. He got the axe because Aaron Rodgers. Then it was Mike Williams, inexplicably, who then trolled Aaron Rodgers back by catching a touchdown pass to win a game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And now it's the GM. But the news on top of the news, the question within the question seems to be that they're preparing for a 2025 divorce with Aaron Rodgers. And this is just them cleaning house and essentially just starting over. So since it's your first time on the Power Rankings, we can really go back here. How did you feel about that marriage in the first place? Did you think it was going to be more of a Tom Brady situation, or did you think it was going to be more of a Brett Favre situation, which it obviously turned out to be?
No, I thought it was going to be even worse than the Brett Favre situation. When your star athlete, the guy that's going to turn around your franchise, is refusing to show up to training camp because he has to be on a vacation doing ayahuasca somewhere, that's a bad sign. Not a good sign. And then when he gets into the mix and he's finally, participating and he's not injured, out for an entire season, he starts cutting off the legs of the coach who, if anything, the season before had led you to some sort of a successful path for the first time in 8 years. He gets Saleh fired, which he absolutely did. And now look at what they're doing. You're throwing out your GM halfway through a season when you're not making any personnel moves is a clear sign that the ownership is done with Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, what does the GM have to do for the rest of the year, though, too? You know what I mean? Like, now that the trade deadline's done,
it's
like,
over.
The GM puts his feet up, right? And he just hopes for the best. I mean,
why are you firing your GM
for the end of the year? I don't know.
Why are you firing your GM now? It's a clear sign that the ownership is done with this. They got Devontae Adams. They're going to pay him too much money.
Who gets custody of him in this house cleaning? I wonder.
I'm hoping that the Patriots end up getting custody of him because he's going to be roaming around aimlessly after this. I'm pretty sure this is Aaron Rodgers' last year in the league, and I think that's fair. You see glimpses of him throwing some nice balls. He was up in that game last week. It looked like they were going to win it, and then those sacks at the end, man, he's not in a position or an age range where he can suffer an offensive line that can't give him 3.5 seconds at the end of the game. He's not going to play like that.
Sometimes, often, in fact, on this show, the subject of who Aaron Rodgers is as a football player, as a quarterback in his legacy comes up. I mean, it's only natural, right? You hear the talking heads on ESPN starting to talk about it. You hear it sort of get discussed as he heads toward the twilight, or is in the twilight and heads towards the very end of his career. Maybe he does a year in the Vikings, just to really Brett Favre the whole thing and then embezzles money right after that. Yeah, I could see it happening. But apart from his personality, because I think everything that's been said about who he is as a guy or how he's represented himself as a guy, at least to the general public over the last 20 years, that's all been said. I'm curious where you actually really genuinely do see his legacy as a QB, because we argued, you and I have been arguing since 2003 about who the best guys are, right? I mean, it was Joe Montana for a long time, but we just had to hear stories about him. And then we watched Tom Brady battle it out with Peyton Manning and Drew Brees in what's increasingly looking like the golden era of quarterbacks. I don't know if we're ever going to have that many consistently good guys ever again. Roethlisberger was in the conversation. Rodgers comes later. watching Tom Brady become the greatest and like sort of undisputed, and then Patrick Mahomes coming right along after and starting to really make waves. Is his I mean, his career has to be called Aaron Rodgers' career has to be called a disappointment at this point, right? I mean,
Without
he failed. He did not meet expectations, and
without a
expectations
doubt.
sky high every year.
I'll never forget sitting on my friend's sofa watching him come in for Brett Favre the first time, and he'd been sitting, waiting in the wings, and it was time for a new day in Green Bay. And for him to have only won one Super Bowl when he was so clearly the best passer of a football at his age, his speed, his ability to roll out, create something out of nothing. He
I mean,
literally
his legs in general.
on a
He would
dime.
just kill you
And
every
in the
time.
room, he could put the ball on a dime to any receiver. And he's gone through a litany of receivers. He was one of the best passers of all time. It is without a question a disappointment. He got paid. He's clearly content with moving forward from the game of football. But as far as his legacy goes, it's somewhere south of Dan Marino.
I think it's definitely south of Dan Marino. I mean, I know he's got one and Dan's got none, but
But
I
Dan was the
have
bear.
other yeah, I mean, I have this other thing where I hate him. And I had to watch him play for the Green Bay Packers in that era that you're talking about where he couldn't miss a throw. And the last thing he did to the Chicago Bears is like score that TD and be like, I still own you. And it's like, no, I'll hate him forever.
Yep.
Forever and ever. But I don't think it's completely biased and unfair to say that every single year he was tapped to be MVP for about 7 years. And that was when Brady was still in the league. I mean, you're not going to hear any argument from me that if you bottled both their talent, Aaron Rodgers would have more compared to Tom Brady. But that's the end of where the conversation ends.
Right.
when you're talking about those two guys.
Right. Immensely talented, fast, really great arm, just not a winner. Just doesn't have that killer instinct to go out and finish games where they need to be finished. So many playoff losses, so many times he came up short. It's just he is not that guy. Peyton, Brady, even Brees to an extent, they had that winning mentality is all that mattered.
Wait,
For some reason,
sorry. Did you say Peyton or Peyton?
Peyton. I'll give it to Manning.
Peyton.
Peyton.
Best guy for commercials ever. Like, honestly, every time he's in a commercial, I'm like, all right, I'm here for it. Sell me a mattress or whatever the fuck
Listen,
you're up to.
I hated him for the longest time, but I got to give it to him. He is just, he entertains the shit out of me. I think he's funny. He's a funny guy. I liked his commercials back in the day, the cut the meat, all that stuff. He's just a funny guy.
For old money, I hate him less than like a lot of other old money people that exist in the world.
Without a doubt.
Did I ever tell you about that job I did, the commercial I did in Indianapolis? He owns like that whole. He owns the whole place. Like the person will be driving you around to go like location scout for where you want to shoot the commercial, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, those are nice houses. Those are Manning properties." And then you'll be in like the downtown area, and it's like that's a Manning building, that's a Manning building, and like he's the president of Indianapolis. Like that guy just had a smart like everything the Mannings do it works out for them. They're good at doing it. I really think I think it's good to be a Manning. It pays to be a Manning. I know. I know they're hateable.
Indiana. Beautiful thing about Indiana is it's Peyton Manning, Larry Bird, and Pat McAfee. And that's it.
That's the end. Oh, dude, I honestly do not like that place.
You know what? We're overlooking something. The Jets might have just done something that I didn't think that they were capable of in breaking a cycle here. And I didn't know if you're probably hyper aware of this as a Bears fan, but the Jets have this ability to cycle through coach and GM where one picks the quarterback, then gets fired, then the coach is stuck with the quarterback.
Oh, no, this is the Bears to a T.
It's unbelievable. But they just maybe they get rid of him, they get a high draft pick, and they can get a coach and a GM on the same page and do something miraculous. They won't because they're the Jets, but it's at least possible at this point.
Well, you're saying they can time it out. They can
time it out.
If they
new GM, new coach on the same page, picking a team.
What do you do in that situation? I wonder what the common practice is. Do you hire the GM and then let him pick the coach if you're the president of the team? Or do you hire them both as a package and say, these are the two best guys, you guys figure out a way to work together?
I think it's the former, unless it's Bill Belichick that's going to coach.
Yeah, but that's tough though, right? Because if they do let's create a real hypothetical here. Say the Jets actually do go and get Bill Belichick. That would be crazy on so many levels. That would be crazy on so many levels. I think it's really, really unrealistic. I mean, the fact that their history already given their history coaching wise, their history when he was the coach of the Patriots. I mean, I know he shit on them quite a bit, but you know, all histories included, that would be pretty crazy. But say it did, you'd want to have a GM in place, Matt, because Bill's GMing was your biggest problem at the end of his tenure. He's not a good GM, and if he gets his tendrils in there before there's like a strong GM in place, you're just looking at the 4-win Patriots again, right? Pretty quickly, but by recent history, maybe that's recency bias.
No, you're probably right. But then you also run into the same issue that you had this year with Atlanta, where you have a GM that doesn't pick Bill Belichick to be the head coach, most likely out of fear of what happens if Bill's right and he's wrong. Bill Belichick's a threat to everyone in an organization once he gets in there.
That's the thing. You almost can't hire the fucking guy because he's like too strong of a personality. There was some bullshit story about the Bears recently where, I mean, I'm not sure it's not bullshit, but they were like, oh, we have a strong president. We have a really strong president in place, so we wouldn't want a really strong personality coach. And I'm like, really? Because you've hired 4 pussies in a row and it hasn't fucking done anything for us. So, like, I mean, I am not arrogant enough to think that like Bill Belichick becoming my coach wouldn't be like the best news I've gotten all year. You know what I mean? Like,
right?
That guy's certified good. You know, you can't like fly in the face of that. I personally have been advocating for Mike Vrabel, like that to me, or Ron Rivera. I think would also be like a good. I would have liked Ron Rivera more as like an interim coach to like see out the end of the season, like give him a job for a year. If he does a great job, like we'll talk about it, but bring him in on an interim basis. He's been there before. But as far as the Jets go, I don't see ever the day that comes that they go get Bill Belichick. But I think you're right about that theory. I think what's probably going to end up happening is they're going to hire some offensive coordinator, and the first time you've really heard his name was when you read the article about the Jets, unless you're already a fan of that team, right?
Right.
You
they're going to promote Nathaniel Hackett to a coaching job, and that's like unbelievable. Might as well go get Dan Orlovsky.
I mean, I'm sure there is good guys out there. The problem is you are punting a little bit when you hire an OC, right? And there's so many actually proven good head coaches sitting there that no teams went to get. You don't think Dallas would have benefited from going to get Bill Belichick or Mike Vrabel, or the Bears would have benefited from going to get any of those 3 guys we just previously talked about, or the Jets before the year started? You know, like are we like how did we not figure out in the year that Aaron Rodgers was sitting on the bench that him and Saleh just weren't going to work? You know, like where did that? We had a whole year of like run up. And then it just went to shit in like 3 games.
It's a specific question, but teams like the Jets never figure out their question. They never figure out what's wrong. That's why they are the Jets.
Oh my God. I'm so scared that that's what's the Bears. Okay. We'll get to that. We'll get to that a little bit later. Get that a little bit later. The first section of the Power Rankings tradition is always the cross-off teams. Cross-off teams are teams we officially are saying are not making the playoffs. That's a fact. Once we cross them off, it's really embarrassing to have to uncross them. So we are a little careful about it. But I'll tell you the teams that we've crossed off already. The Jacksonville Jaguars, I mean, after that 52-point mullering against the best offense in the NFL, I don't think that's at all controversial.
Nope.
The 3-7 Panthers, they've been crossed off for a while. The 2-8 Raiders, they've been crossed off for a while. 2-8 Browns, same deal. 2-8 Titans, same deal. None of those teams bear talking about. I'm a little nervous about the Saints. I shit on them so hard across their first 2 games because they were putting a ton of points on the board, and I just wouldn't shut up on this show being like, yeah, but there's still a Carr brother under center. Like, it's not going to happen that way. They fired their coach. The new guy seems to be a rah-rah guy. And I'm a little bit nervous that he can start to pump some wins in there, and the cross-off section is going to become a little scary. Additionally, I'd love to know your thoughts on this, because if you pony over to the Saints division, they've got the Bucks, the Panthers, and the Falcons. They're only 2 games back. And they're the only team on a winning streak. What do you have to say about the New Orleans Saints?
Listen, if there was a gun to my head, I wouldn't put any of those teams in a cross-off situation, just because what the hell? Who's driving the car? Who's got their hand on the wheel there? Obviously, you want to think that the Bucks are.
Who's fucking this chick?
It's Baker Mayfield. As my great grandmother used to say, who's fucking this chicken anyways? It's just a chaos division with chaos quarterbacks who are at times amazing, at times the worst you've ever seen, with defenses that can record 8 sacks in a game and then give up 450 yards. The only reason I'm okay with the Saints being crossed off, and I'm secure in this fact, is I believe that the Bucks are better, and I really do believe that the Falcons, as dysfunctional as they are a more talented football team. So for those reasons,
do you want to talk about the Falcons for a second in that context?
Wow,
Because I mean, benching the QB in the middle of the game is a tough look. That's a tough look, man. I mean, Kirk Cousins, I've always said is not that good, but I think that we're now at a point. I think he looked a little shaky right when he came back into the league this year. Like he just didn't look physically like the same guy. And then like as the year goes on, he kind of bounced back. And then it's like as the year
yeah,
goes on, all you got is wear and tear. I'm really not looking forward to watching him play. Oh, at least they play in a dome, right? But
right.
do they play in a dome? But
Yep, yep.
but yeah, they do. So famously they do. So I don't know why I second guess myself there. But as it gets colder, any games on the road in the cold areas of the world, you're just looking at a poor guy with a hurty knee.
Right, right.
It's just
He's the number one guy you don't want outdoors in the cold for sure. He showed us some real glimpses this year of like, did it make sense to pay him? For a second, he kind of did, and now
but
they
then it did.
really,
Then
really
it was
cut
like,
him quick.
did it make sense? This might be way too early to tell because we'll come on to the QB rookie draft class in a year or this year in a second. But Penix came in and it was like, well, I mean, I don't know what you expect the kid to do,
Like,
but it's also like maybe if he was going to play, maybe a Kirk Cousins type gets paid like a veteran, nice contract, and you go, hey, we're going to have this guy play for like the first few games, but it's like very like kind of not exactly like this, but the way they dealt with Russ and Justin in Pittsburgh, right? Where it's like, look, Russ is coming back from injury. You're going to start these first 5 games. When he's back, he's coming back in the offense. We've designed the offense around him. You're going to learn from him. This is a good situation for you. When the media asks you how you feel about it, here's what you say. Learn your lines. And everything's just going to look really cool. And everybody's going to look happy. And we're going to run the occasional Justin Fields play, although less than I thought they would or hoped they would. And instead, they did it this like cockamamie way where Kirk Cousins then comes out and goes like, "I'm not super happy that they drafted a QB. I thought I was the fucking QB." And you're like, "So hold on a second. No one talked to Kirk?" And it's how they showed moments because I really do believe they have a lot of really good skill position players in Atlanta, and I agree with you that they're overall talented. But it was always going to look weird and dysfunctional at some point. And
for sure.
that division is just like, it's kind of repeating stories like that. That seems to be the narrative across that whole division because, I mean, the Panthers I've shit on a lot, but I mean, I'm sure they're laughing now at the Chicago fans and how much of a bitch DJ Moore's been for the last few weeks. But, that's a story of dysfunction, let's be honest. The Saints, that seems to be getting more dysfunctional since the Peyton era has ended. The Bucks, they look like the most non-dysfunctional team of the bunch, which I'm not 100% sure I would have said. Seems like they actually have a leader at QB. I don't think he's that dude, to be totally honest with you, like, when it really comes down to it.
Right.
This happened a while ago, but you weren't on the show. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that whole thing when he was like, well, everybody was a little tense when Brady was here. And then Brady was like, yeah, because I'm a fucking winner. It's like, dude, you set yourself up for that, buddy. Baker, don't say
like
stuff
it was
like
a little
that.
tense when we had 5 Hall of Famers on the offense, and we had a defense that had allowed less passing yards than any team in that division before, ever. The year before, did it seem a little tense? Like maybe something was on the line.
Yeah,
I'm proud.
I'm not here to have fun. If I wanted to have fun, I'd be at fucking Disneyland.
Anybody that's not proud of Baker Mayfield coming out, all the shit he's been through, all the shit he's heard talked about him, coming out and still being able to ball like that.
Yeah.
I fucking he switched me back. I love that kid. That kid's got no quit in him. As on and off as that kid.
But don't you think he's just there to have fun though?
Like, but he's
Yeah.
I think he is working his ass off. I think he's that rare exception where you think, okay, we're gonna put a quarterback in. He's hyped. We're gonna ruin him because we have no offensive line. He's got no time to learn how to read
Okay,
defense.
no, I can see that point. I can see that point. The Browns ruined QBs, and the fact that he's come out of that, he's like the only one, right? He's the only one that might actually leave and still be like an NFL.
Exactly. Same thing with Sam Darnold and Jets.
I don't know that Sam Darnold point, to be totally honest. I don't know about that. I still think he's Sam Darnold. Yeah, but Kirk Cousins was winning there too, and I always thought he fucking sucked. and he's just fucking Kirk Cousins 2.0. So it's like,
I mean, and
whatever.
It's an amazing roster. It's an amazing roster.
It's a decent roster. I don't know if it's amazing. It's decent. It's
The
good.
Vikings,
Overall, it's good. Yeah, no, the Vikings are good. I think at every position they have a good player, right? I think at
yeah,
every position they have a good player. I think this new coach guy, despite the fact that I think some weird allegations might come out against him later because he's like too well put together, you know? Like where are some of your flaws on your sleeve, or I'm gonna start to think that you got bodies in your crawl space. You know what I mean? Doesn't smell in the wintertime in Minnesota. But like the the Vikings still have an identity that, like, they haven't lived down, which is, like, yeah, they do win a lot of regular season games, like, they have always won a lot of regular season
always.
games, and then you go and talk to actual Vikings fans, and they're like, "No, I mean, I like the team, but I'm not gonna believe we're gonna do shit in the postseason until I see it," if they're reasonable, and they've been through it, you know, and then bang, what they get to the postseason, and this happens, and this you can even see coming even more because it's not, "Oh, Kirk's gonna go down under the lights," it's well, I mean, it's poor fucking Sam Darnold, you know, and it's the
Poor Sam
playoffs, and
Darnold.
everybody forgets what happens in the playoffs, though, you
Dude,
know?
playoff ball is different. It's a different
It's
pace,
different.
timing. You're
Um,
absolutely right.
the
Well,
I don't mean to, like, denigrate the NFL when I say this, but, like, there's a growing issue. Actually, I don't mind denigrating the NFL. But I'm not trying to, like, talk down the sport or bring down the whole house of cards, what we're talking about, but there's a growing if I'm not playing for a contract, then I'm not playing that hard problem happening in the NFL. And I think a 17th game has a lot to do with it. I think a lot of trips to Germany and London and dumb Friday games where you know, you're playing on a soccer pitch and everybody's sliding around like rock and sock and robots and watching DeMar Hamlin die for like 8 minutes. I understand it. Like I get it. But it's as a spectacle, it's becoming like a little bit of an issue because you're like, oh, DJ Moore just got paid. And DJ Moore's like up there in like cool guy wide receivers as far as everybody's concerned. And then DJ Moore's just walking off the field when he doesn't think the offense is working. And there's examples like all over the place. And I just think that is a large part of the issue.
yep.
When you see teams kind of fold over or like not play as hard in the regular season, there's a lot of specific contextual reasons for that. And then when you get to the playoffs, I mean, you're a playoff team, you know, like it's time to go. Let's try and win some shit, you know, and
Right.
it's everybody's going 1,000 miles an hour. And you know, I get it. I get trying to stay healthy and I get trying to like get through years. And when you look around and you're in a shit situation, like if I was Devontae Adams, I wouldn't be blocking anybody very hard for the rest of the year. You know what I mean? Like I'm not locking up with dudes. Like that's not gonna happen. So I get it, but as a spectacle, it becomes a little bit of an issue. All right, let's try and get out of the dregs here.
But
We
hold
got a
on, I
little
love your point there. I love your point there. Do you remember that the Patriots got a big receiver from the Broncos back in the day? I can't remember his name. It was he was an amazing receiver for the Broncos. And he came back over when we got the offensive coordinator back, and halfway through the season, he just stopped going up for balls. And people around here got so pissed. And now that I'm older, I'm like, yeah, dude, he had one more contract left in him. If I'm not on a team that's gonna fucking go balls to the wall, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna put my knees on the line. Like, the part of me, the older I get, understands the theory of like, yeah, if the team's not running full pace, I'm not running full pace, which kills me because I mean it's football, but like it's an opportunity, not a career. You only have a short amount of time to make your money here. So when I see DJ Moore doing that, as aggravated as I get, I understand what he's doing.
I guess. I guess you're right. I it just yeah. I mean, I get it. I don't want anyone out there
DJ
like
Moore
dying.
just hey.
Shit. Like I would the thing is I would do the same thing. So it's like I can't. There's like that rah-rah thing in your head when you're young, right? When you're like 20 years old and you're like, fuck yeah, man, I'm gonna fucking I would run through a wall for the team and I would do this for the team and that the other, and you're like, oh man, would I know when you're like in your 30s?
Have I ever in my
Fair enough.
life?
Like, what's the page like, how much money am I losing if I break my fucking leg in year 2 of this contract? Like, how much money am I actually losing? So yeah, I mean, I at this point, I understand it. I can't really come down on him too hard. I think you're right about that. But yeah, let's get out of the dregs. Oh, we can't get out of the dregs because we still have a Patriots section and a Bears section coming up. Let's start with the Pats. If for those who haven't tuned in, if this is your first time listening to the power rankings, I've been doing a bit where I wouldn't cross the Patriots off for like the first 7, 8, 9 games, even though the rest of the show is pleading for me to do it, to just put the bullet in them out behind the old woodshed, like your old Yeller. And then I missed a week and they fucking crossed them off when I wasn't here. So the Patriots are crossed. But I still think they have a little juice and a little life in them. So, I mean, the floor is really yours on this one. I wanna know what your opinion is on, your new guy, Drake May. I wanna know how you view your coaching staff and how you're feeling there. I mean, we talk about this stuff a lot on the show. It'd be nice to get a fresh angle on it, unless you have the same opinion as those fuckers, in which case I'll tell you.
Well, I've been doing my best to annoy everyone I know. Me and Dave are both the kings of doing things for all the fam. We love to do a thing that bothers everyone.
Love
Make
a
it so
thing.
that way.
Love
So
a
the
thing.
thing I've been doing this season is I'm taking a hiatus of being a Patriots fan, and I've really put all my focus in to the Bears, which I'm going to get into
How'd
right
that
here.
go?
Oh, oh my god, oh my god. Here's my thing. I am fully on board with getting a high draft pick and supporting this kid now that he has shown his glimpses of just not even
You
skill,
were
his
low on it.
awareness.
Let's make
I
this
was
clear.
really
You were
low.
low on it.
I wanted Jaden Daniels more than anything. Last year when we beat the Bills at the end of the season, I literally cried real tears because I knew that was Jaden Daniels going somewhere else. And it was literally, but this kid's showing real awareness on the field. I'm happy. I'm happy that he is. I don't want to win more games. I'm happy that we're losing because winning 6 games does nothing for us. I want to draft pick. Give me Travis Hunter. Give me a lineman. Give me the guard from Georgia. But man, he does look pretty good, doesn't he?
He does. He really
He
does.
looks pretty fucking good, dude.
Like, for a rookie, but also, I mean, it's like I had this whole hot take about the Commanders and at the start of the season when Jaden Daniels was balling, and it was kind of desperation of like needing all the other good rookie QBs to be not good rookie QBs, right? Because like how
Right,
often
of
do you get
course.
2 in the top 4? How often do you get 2 in the top 4? How often? So
Dude.
I did a deep dive on Cliff Kingsbury and I came out with all these stats where his like offenses start to take a shit in the second half of the season consistently. And that's
Always.
true when he's an OC and when he's a head coach. I felt like I was like that meme of Charlie and It's Always Sunny with like the like smoking the cigarette with all the stuff and the red lines on the back. And I'm like, I was like, this has got to be true. It has to be true. And then ESPN today drops one of those clickbaity articles like, what's going on with Jaden Daniels? I look at his stats over the last 2 games and I'm like, yeah, it's time. It's time to come and stick the knife in on the second half of the season, Cliff Kingsbury offense. I think what he does, and I think there's a reason for this. I think he runs a really, really, really simple offense, which is great for a rookie QB coming in and just wanting to go through 1 or 2 reads, right? It's kind of the opposite of what was going on with Caleb in Chicago with that absolute fucking bag of shit that was the OC for the first part of this season, Shane Waldron. But Kingsbury, he's like, you just need to look at that guy and that guy. And if those guys aren't there, take off. And that's what he was doing. And everybody was like, oh shit, like this guy runs like pretty crazy. Like, and oh, he's got this wild deep ball. Like he's got this like out of control deep ball that really, if you just put like a very good receiver in Terry McLaurin, who everybody forgets about because he's never had a guy that could do this for him, absolutely chuck that up to him and it's going to work. After a few weeks, non-incompetent defensive coordinators go like, okay, so everything I just said is basically the things we have to worry about. So we're going to play too high this week, guys. Like anytime you see Terry McLaurin going on a deep route, you go after him.
Too
We're
high
just
and then
gonna
5
contain this
flat.
kid.
That's it.
Yeah, we're just going to contain him on scrambles. The Bears actually put the most on tape this year on how to deal with them. To
Yeah.
be totally honest with you, ironically, despite how horrific that end of game Hail Mary was.
But the defense was on it.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. They weren't. They were fucking around. So, you know, I'm kind of not as worried about Jaden Daniels. I still think he's talented, but I think that there's things there that people haven't been talking about. Bo Nix wasn't worried about it. Drake is now who I'm worried about. Might actually be the dude. And it remains to be seen. I mean, there's a lot left because if you listen to anybody talking about Caleb Williams right now and they're like, oh, dude, he's clearly a fucking bust, like, da da da. It's like, you sound stupid. Like, you can't make that call yet. Like, it's just, that's insane. And like,
If you
last
think
week was
Caleb Williams
perfect.
is the bust, you're an idiot.
Yeah, but if you think any of them are the guy, for sure, you're also an idiot. There's just not enough has happened yet. Like, we have to wait. And like, look at CJ Stroud's a great example. Like, he's having a down year, like officially having a down year after a great rookie season. And that's fine. That is fine. That doesn't mean CJ Stroud's a bad QB. Like,
No.
It's a sophomore slump, and it's fine. He's talented. They just need to guide him through it, and be like, "We'll get him." And, like, that's why these, like, fucking this, like, instant hot take culture is such bullshit because you're just like, "Dude, I've been watching football for too long. I can't make the call yet. I just can't make the call yet." There's things I'm seeing that I'm liking out of, like, Caleb and Jaden Daniels and Drake May. The thing is I think Drake May's got the best fucking head on his shoulders out of all of them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and you know what?
that's the thing that's freaking me out a little bit.
I'm not sure if you've seen it yet, because if you did, you'd be as excited as I was. There's a clip of of Drake May playing basketball in high school.
Oh,
That
he's a
kid
freak.
he balls out, dude, which I like. That ability to play both and be flashy. He's got a 3, he's got some moves. So I love that dual sport athlete thing. But when it comes to their intangibles, I think what you're always looking for a quarterback that's young is head on the shoulders. Who is in a horrible situation, but still showing signs that they're thinking where you need, like, their head's where you need it to be. They're looking for the zone, they're looking for the cuts. And I see Caleb Williams, even in these horrible, horrible offensive schemes, doing it constantly. He doesn't give up, of course. Who wouldn't? How many times can you be hit? He got hit 30 times in 3 weeks. Why? Like, how many times can you go through that? You still see him making these split decisions.
I was so happy that those throws on that last drive against the Packers. If
Oh
we're
my
if we're
God.
if we're actually gonna move on to the Bears, this is a seamless transition, well done. It's better than any transition I've ever made. I even fucked it up a little bit by
Dude,
saying what I'm saying right now. I actually have to say, I I loved how that game worked out. Because if you asked me to give you a scenario where that I wanted that game to like, how I wanted that game to go, when we were winning, like, right at the end, I would have said Caleb Williams does something awesome, but Matt Eberflus still finds a way to lose because I want Caleb to show me that he's great, right? But I also don't I have no interest in band-aiding the very obvious problem that is the head coach, right? And he plays scared. He plays scared football. He should have tried to get 10 more yards before that kick.
yep.
He fucking asked for it. I'm not gonna
I'm
sit here and call it and bitch about leverage because when the Bears got called for it, my take on the leverage penalty was that the fact that it's a personal foul in 15 yards is the dumbest thing in the world. So I'm not at all looking for a leverage call. I don't give a shit about that. If you're in, well, we've turned this tape into the league because I think there was a leverage call. Shut up, dude. Shut up. Just win the game. Stop with the leverage calls. I don't care about
like,
that.
shut the fuck up.
I already said that rule is dumb. They every year they protect the long snapper more and more. Like you can't touch the fucking long snapper. It's like cool.
Don't touch him.
Nobody can block fucking field goals then. And one of the more exciting plays in football is out. Yeah, like great. Good job on the dynamic kickoff too, guys. Like you're absolutely killing it over there. So what happens when you let accountants run things. But whatever. Leverage,
Nerd.
schmeverage. I don't give a shit.
Fucking
Go try
nerd.
for 10 more yards, Matt. Please.
So I have to give my whole spiel on being a Bears fan this year. I have to say this first because we're on it. In the same sense that Caleb Williams, for all intents and purposes, beat the Packers last weekend, even though they lost. He did everything he should have done for that team to win. That them losing like that is an astronomically bizarre result, right? He also beat the Commanders. He
Yeah.
came down the field,
Yeah,
put it
I
together,
agree.
and won that fucking game. And then Jaden Daniels underthrew a ball, and it went to asshole cornerback who was already celebrating, who knocked it up, ended the game in a bizarre fashion. So Caleb Williams deserves 2 more wins on his record than he has now.
I've seen him.
That's just
I've
a
seen
fact.
him make 2 game-winning drives. I've seen him make 2 game-winning drives, and that's just a fact, right? Like it's not a fact, but it is. I just believe that to be true.
I'm sure you have a lot of, New England guys that listen to this podcast. And I've known that we were blessed, obviously, because like of the fucking wagon that Tom Brady was. But to take a break and watch the Bears like they're your team, it is, Dave, it is the most insane thing I've ever experienced to see a talented roster and easily a top 8 defense be coached and schemed into the ground. I can't explain it to Patriots fans. I try constantly. Watch these guys go out there and have the game plan that we're not going to get the ball out quick. We're not going to run the ball equal amounts. We're not going to look to our receivers. We're not going to put
We're never
the
gonna
fast
blitz.
receiver in the
We're
slot.
never gonna blitz.
We're
Ever
never
gonna
gonna
blitz.
We have 8 guys in the box that can get there. We're not going to blitz. We're going to rush 4 and struggle and open up the run and open up the box. And it's Dave. I can't imagine waking up Monday mornings and being like, this is it. It's unbelievable. The coaching staff is
Thanks for
killing the team.
understanding. Yeah, I know. It's not. It's been like this for a long time. This cycle's been going for a long time. And like I watch every game. I get up every fucking morning. So I'm on West Coast time. I get up and I watch every game. And the worst part is I'm fucking excited about it going into the season. Every season, there's a reason to be excited.
Hold on. Let me ask. How?
Because every season over the past at least 3 years, I've looked at the roster and I'm like, oh, the roster's getting better. The roster's getting better. This is getting better over here. We needed this. It's getting better over here. And the whole time, I'm also simultaneously banging the drum, like, still don't love the trenches though. And I would say this to you. We would text about it. I'd be like, still don't love the trenches. Like offensive lineman. The GM's supposed to be an offensive lineman. I need the trenches to get shorn up, especially if we're gonna get a rookie QB. We don't, and now the man's lucky to be alive, right? And it's just like that's a dereliction of duty, unfortunately. But the problem is that coaching staff would not scheme to protect him. I mean, we brought this guy Thomas Brown in, and he had a great game at offensive coordinator against the Packers. Why did he have a great game? Now, you want to talk about how depressing it is on a tangible existential level as a Bears fan? I was just happy to see blockers blocking instead of wide receivers blocking. Like that guy came in and he was like, okay, so the blockers, you're going to block. And they were like, wow, this guy might be onto something. Instead of like asking Keenan Allen, injury prone veteran wide receiver Keenan Allen to be like your lead blocker on a DJ Moore screen. How about the blockers just run over there? They can just run over there and they just be there for the blocking. And then they do the blocking because they're the blockers. And to just start there was a magical improvement on my usual Sunday morning.
How about running the ball so that the defense has to put more than one linebacker in the box, then opening Cole Kmet to be an actual fucking weapon? Cole Kmet is an awesome tight end. The way that Eberflus was running them before, he was schemed out of every play. It's like
what? He would be my safety valve on, I'd say, 80% of Caleb Williams' passing plays from shotgun.
Jaden Daniels has thrown the ball to Zach Ertz more than any receiver. That's what tight ends do.
Just make him run 6 yards and then turn around but like 25 times a game. You know what I mean? Like I want to see him do that 25 times a game. Give him option routes. Cole Kmet has been given 0 option routes to just run into space like Travis Kelce does. Just let the kid cook, And he's going to be right in front of Caleb then. He's going to be able to see him. I mean, Tom Brady made a fucking career of this.
A whole career.
I don't. It's fine. That's all well and good.
It's not fine. Matt Eberflus doesn't know ball. He doesn't understand ball.
He doesn't. He's playing within himself, and he's been playing within himself for a while. He's been playing Matt Eberflus, I want to keep my job football. And I got no time for that, bro. You got to play Chicago Bears football. You got to make it look like there's guys out there. This is the worst part because the roster to scheming issues are the issues. There's guys out there that are dogs, man. I'm telling you. We have good linebackers. We have one of the better edge rushers in the league. We have really good safeties. I mean, since Brisker's gone down, he got a concussion week 3. And then now he's on IR. It's like, how bad was that fucking concussion, dude? Holy shit. That he's one of the hardest hitting safeties in the league. He's not in there, right? That sucks. But like Simone Biles' wife is in there. He's pretty good. He's made a play every now and again. I've been enjoying him, but now we're working out safeties right now. Like that sucks. Like we're hurt at that position. But
you guys need Vrabel so bad. And let me put this to you. And you know this. There's a possibility. There's a real world possibility where the Bears ownership blames Ryan Pohl for this and not Matt Eberflus. Could you imagine?
I mean, Ryan Pohl hasn't been perfect.
Have you considered that?
What, you leave Matt Eberflus there and you get a new G? Oh, no, I would set myself on fire as something instantly. I would actually Rage Against the Machine self-immolate if that happened. I don't even think I'm joking. To be totally honest with you. It'd be like, you just wake up one morning and there'd be like a Twitter alert and it'd be like just me putting my phone down and walking over and being like, this is a protest of the atrocities that have been committed and the Chicago Bears football team. Institutions like this should be banned from existing. This is evil. They are literal terrorists. And I would pour gasoline on myself and light myself on fire. That's what I would do. That. So, yeah, wow. That was cathartic, I have to say.
I'll leave it here. The Bears are 2 or 3 pieces away from being an absolute weapon in the NFL. 2 or 3 pieces, but the number one thing is the coach.
Yeah, the coach has got to. There's guys out there. There's guys out there that
You
could
need
come in and
Vrabel, like, you need Vrabel so bad.
Vrabel would be great.
The
He
players
really
would
would.
wanna play for him.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I would love to give somebody an interim run, like a mulligan year to just like all this runway,
Your
But
interim bust, your interim, bump just got eaten up by a fucking blocked field goal. That's garbage.
I know. Well, that was depressing. Do we cross the Bears off? Do we cross the Bears off? Not yet. I'm gonna torture
Okay.
myself a little bit longer. Let's see. We got some other people in the cross off conversation, but none of them I don't think are gonna get crossed off. Bengals. I don't know what you make of them as an organization. They're very strange. I don't know if they try hard enough. Is that their problem? Do they have too many divas over there, or is that an issue? They've never gotten Burrow an offensive line. They just refuse to get. They just refuse to get a Burrow an offensive line at all. You
The
know,
kid the kid brings you to a Super Bowl, he brings you to an NFC championship game. Did they make it to the Super Yeah, they lost the Super Bowl, right? The Bengals. Oh, no, was it
yeah,
the AFC? Yeah, no,
no, yeah,
they
they
lost.
lost because they got fucking crushed for like they just got the best defensive line against the worst offensive line ever. It was
The
not
kid
a very memorable Super Bowl. It was all
the
right.
the poor kid, like, there's nothing he can do.
Yeah.
He's getting 3 touchdowns, 300 yards a game, and the defense is just a collapse. It's like my brain won't allow me to believe that they're garbage because there's so much talent on the field, but
Yeah,
really
and, like, Joe
they just
Burrow will I know. The Joe Burrow will chuck a sick ball down the field for Jamar Chase, like, 3 times a game, and it's just, like, so much fun to watch. Like, I, enjoy watching their offense. I like their running backs they got in past Mixon, like, I feel like, what's his name? Chase Brown's been really good. He's kind of
Yep.
fun to watch. They have good weapons. They don't have an offensive line, and their defense is poo-poo. It's stinky bananas. I don't like it at all. It's not schemed well, I think, is their problem. You'd have to ask a Bengals fan to really deep dive on what the hell's going on over there because it's starting to become a little bit of a pattern, don't you think? Like,
Oh, yeah.
it just haven't been able to like, Joe Burrow, in my mind, has gone from Patrick Mahomes' biggest threat, he's gonna be the guy, he's gonna be the guy that owns Pat Mahomes, like, he's gonna be the guy to stop him, to, like, he's not slaying the fucking dragon, dude, and I gotta go look now at I mean, in that whole AFC conversation, I gotta go look for who? Josh
Josh
Allen
fucking Allen.
plays a lot of mistake-prone football to in crunch time as far as I'm concerned. Really, really looks good this year. Really looks good this year, but, like, I haven't seen him do the thing. Lamar Jackson plays a lot of mistake-prone football in the postseason, a lot like,
Yeah.
he looked a little better this year, even I think he's built on some stuff. I
Oh,
think he
yeah.
lost some weight, he looks great, but now the Bengals, you look at them and you're like, "Man, are you guys gonna just suck every year for the first 5 games and then, like, not really be able to pull it back enough and then the season's over? Is that
Right.
gonna be your every year identity? Like, that seems disappointing. I wanted them to be competing."
At least normally they go on a run now. They haven't gone on their run yet. They're still fledgling. It's awful. And I agree with you. Joe Burrow to me is probably the 2nd or 3rd most talented quarterback in the league.
Right.
It's just not it doesn't matter.
He doesn't look happy. I'll tell you
No,
that
he
much.
does not.
Those post-game press conferences, like, they're like, "What do you say when your kicker misses a kick like that or 2 kicks like that?" And he was like, "Nothing." Like, it
Yeah,
kind of is a stupid fucking question, to be totally honest, like, he's like, "I don't know, dude. Like, that guy's having a real tough day at work." Like, I don't know if I'm gonna, like, "Mister, don't miss the kick." "Oh, yeah, dude. Thanks for telling me. I was trying to fucking not miss the kick, bro. Thanks so much for the advice. Really
Oh,
detailed advice there, Joe."
you mean it goes inside? No. Oh, okay, good.
"Yeah, thanks, buddy. I was trying my fucking best. I appreciate you, though." Good God. Who else is interested to talk about this thereabouts with the, cross-off? Colts, Rams, Seahawks are left.
You know, there's a
Um,
cross off the Colts.
you said you wanna talk about the Colts?
I would cross them off.
I don't know, they just kinda looked a little bit better with Richardson back in, or was that just them beating the Jets?
Beat Jets.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Wow, 4 and 6 Colts? It hasn't looked good. It hasn't looked good. Why I'm hesitant because 'cause it'll be the first 4-win team we crossed off like, after they became a 4-win team. The
So
Saints are now a 4-win team, but they did that afterwards.
right. So here's my thing about the Colts. They switched to Flacco because they were like, guys, we still have a shot here in making it. But now they switched back, almost like they know that it's over.
Yeah.
Now, Anthony Richardson looked like a superhero out there, but he was playing against a team that's half quit.
they're gonna get beat bad by the Lions next week
Oh
too.
man, they're gonna get demolished by the Lions. That's not even a fair game. Nobody wants to watch that.
Okay, I'll cross out the Colts. Bye. Rams, I think they can still win a few games. I really like their receivers. They just beat
They're the
the Pats.
last team. If I have a team that's playing really well in the NFL as a fan, they're the last team I want to see in the playoffs.
You think they're gonna make the playoffs though?
No, I was thinking if they do, they're scary. They can score at will when they're clicking.
I mean, they could. They're only one win behind the Cardinals.
Right.
It's kind of anybody's game there in the NFC West, and they're all very similar teams where it's like you're not 100% sure what they look like every given week, right?
Right.
So
And now they're healthy.
yeah, that's really weird. That's a really weird division. That really any team could come out of there. It could be the Rams, and yeah, you wouldn't want to see them. You wouldn't want to see Puka Nacua just have a crazy day,
No way.
against you on a Saturday. That would suck. Like nobody would want that. All right, that's what we'll leave them alone because I just think that's only fair. The Seahawks again. I mean, same reason. The Bengals. You guys are flirting with a cross off. I have to say, you gotta pull it around.
Oh no,
All right,
yeah,
moving
no.
on. Moving on to the honorable mentions section of the show. I'll read you out the teams on the honorable mentions section: Broncos, Buccaneers, Dolphins, Falcons, Texans, Cardinals, Niners. Now, of those, I would say the Bucks, just because of their record, are flirting with going back down to cross-offs. They're playing the Giants next, though, so could be looking at a 5-6.
Should-
I'm interested to get your opinion on the Dolphins. They look good again offensively now that Tua is back in. That that sweet child needs to stop leading with his head. It's becoming like an arrestable offense for whoever his guardians are in Miami because it's absolutely insane to me. Why can't we mandate those helmets? Is it like I won't do a diaper shot in the NBA? It's because of the way it looks, and they don't want to look
because you look like a nerd. That's
because
what
you
it
don't
is.
want to look like a nerd.
Nobody wants to look like a nerd. And Tua,
I don't care. I don't want my nose to be coming out of my nostrils when I'm fucking 51. That's what I don't want to have happen.
I just
I don't want brain leakage in my ears when when I'm running on a pretty decent age, like just wear the guardian cap, bro. For the love of God. They should be able to mandate them to wear it if they've had a certain amount of concussions. It seems like a no-brainer.
like, what is the point of making all this money if you have to be fed by a spoon by a nurse in your 50s? It doesn't make any sense.
Screw it if you're lucky. It might just be a tube in your stomach. You know what I mean? Like I got no interest in that, in the depression symptoms and the
Oh,
like, it's so bad. How did Sidney Crosby stop getting I know it's a different game, but how did Sidney Crosby stop getting concussions? Because he was in a similar boat. I feel like we thought he was gonna be out of the league in a couple of years because he was getting so many, NHL concussions, which is also like, I mean, you're getting your fucking bell rung in the NHL quite a bit along the boards and stuff.
oh yeah.
How did he stopped getting concussions?
He
Did he
stopped going
just
into the corners.
yeah, he just, like, stopped going near anybody, huh? He's
It's
just
like
like, "I'm
Michael
just
said,
guy."
if you don't want to get
Yeah.
hit by a train, get off the tracks, baby.
Yeah, but he's good enough, right, that he can sort of, like, exist. But,
Oh
like,
yeah.
I've seen quarterbacks that can protect themselves, you know? I mean, I've seen the Ben Roethlisbergers of the world, and his personal character aside, a lot of watching him play was a lot of fun because he would just, like, get hit and not fall over. That was,
Or
he was
Brady.
just
Brady would fall down before he got hit.
yeah, which is fine. I mean, he just, like, read the pocket. He was the best ever to ever read the pocket, when
Right.
when it would collapse, he would just, like, protect the ball. They invented a whole rule about it. So, it's like,
Now
that's
you've got
fine.
Tua. You know what Tua reminds me of? It reminds me of my 2-year-old. She runs with this sense of abandonment. She runs like she just stole something, and then when she hits something, it's like a car crash every single time. It's like her head is in the mix of every fall down, no matter
And
where
then
we
there's, like,
are.
a moment where she can't believe that this has happened. Like, the idea that it's even occurred, it never even occurred to her that
She looks at
something
me and
bad
she's
can
like,
happen.
"Dad, am I all right? Am I
Yeah,
okay?" I had
yeah,
no idea.
yeah. Poor old Blue Tentua. It's not going good, man. It's
It's just
not going good with the brain.
and every
I
time it
think
happens, we're like, "Well, one more, I guess, just one more."
Yeah, just losing letter grades left, right, and center. I mean, it's out of control.
But you're right.
Um,
With him back, that team's in the hunt for something.
yeah, I really do. If you look at the overall standings in the AFC, like they're kind of right on the bubble still.
Right on the
It
bubble.
seems unrealistic because they've lost so many games, but you really never know. We'll see what happens. Do they get to play the Jets again? I mean, that's a
Yeah.
question that every team that's looking for a free win should have. Like where are our wins at this point? I think, or where the Dolphins are at.
They get to play us again.
They get to play. Well, I still think you guys got spunk.
They get to play us again at home, which is always bad for us.
You guys aren't good in Miami.
Well, so Brady wasn't good in Miami. This team is now this amorphous blob where you look at our history, like they show our stats, like, oh well, they're 23-2 against the Bills in this kind of setting. It's like, yeah, that doesn't fucking matter anymore. It's like,
yeah,
the team is dead.
Yeah. It's got nothing to do with the jerseys, bro. It's not. Maybe it's the same bus, but yeah, there's been a change of scenery. I love it.
Have you noticed they're doing it to Detroit too? They'll show Detroit stats in a game that they're up 37. Like, well, Detroit's prone to lose this. They're the only team to cough up a lead of 21 points in the fourth quarter.
Not the only team though. Like none of those guys were there. You know what I mean? Like it really would be such better advanced analytics if they were like Dan Campbell's Lions have done this many times. And I'm like, great. Like, cool. That to me shows authentic patterns and trends that we can read. Like the good statisticians that we should be as sports fans across all of our sports. We should be making. Yeah, you don't need to talk down to me, fucking ESPN.com. You fucking cunts. Okay. Yeah, the Miami Dolphins. Great. Laces out, Dan. Moving on. Falcons we discussed briefly. Bucks we discussed briefly. Texans we touched on. Niners we touched on in the context of the division. I think we can do it. I think we can start to break down these power rankings. There is a long preamble before we actually get to the meat. I like to eat my green beans first, It's like 8 Mile. I'm scared to eat pussy, so I eat around the tush. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are. We're at the power rankings. Number 10 with a bullet, featuring for the first, no, not the first time on this year on the power rankings, but in the ill-fated number 10 position, Matt. Every team that's hit the number 10, and it's a very interchangeable position here on the power rankings show. Every team Bobby has put on the number 10 list has gone on to just canon their season. The Bears, the Falcons, I think the Raiders might have been there for like a hot second, or someone stupid like that. But it's a lot of teams have just really tanked since they're in this spot. But let's talk about the Green Bay Packers and how I think Caleb Williams outplayed Jordan Love. And I'm actually not that impressed with Jordan Love, to be totally honest with you. I'm not really as scared of him as I am some other up-and-coming QBs around the league. Am I crazy?
No, who could be? I mean, he's about as mid can be. He's coached very well. They have a good offensive scheme. They have a scheme that they know what his worth is. They know where he can succeed and where he can't. And you're absolutely right. Caleb Williams outplayed that kid. He absolutely did. And you see it as that, jumping up and down, you're the quarterback of the fucking Packers. You're playing the Bears, and there's a blocked field goal. Watching him jump up and down like he was a little kid in the stands. It's like so fucking, you're like, no elite quarterback does that. Relax. Yes. You got dogged, okay? You won by a fucking fluke. Why don't you act like you've been there before?
I also think the same thing happened to them, by the way, against the Texans. I was furious when they played the Texans because the Texans had the opportunity to either run the ball 3 times, and it was just bad head coaching. Like it was, but I forgave him more because I think he's good. But it's like, it was just naive. Like they could have run the ball 3 times and made him use all their timeouts and then kicked it and then given it back. Or they could have tried to fucking score, right? You can do one or you can do the other. You can't try to do both. So they did that dumb thing that you like find yourself doing in Madden sometimes when you get like fucking greedy, where you're like, I'm just going to throw it on first down, just to, like try to give them a surprise. And then you start on second down, and then you stop the clock for them on second down because you didn't execute the play right. And then it's like, ah, shit. Now we're going to run twice, but they're going to go back with 1 timeout left, which is like all they fucking need with a minute and something on the clock, because getting into just field goal range is so achievable for every offense. The same thing happened to the Bears. It's so achievable. It's like, I just got to get into field goal range. It's almost the exact same situation where it worked out for them both times because the other team's head coach was stupid, right? And quite frankly, this Packers team, they're in a division where they won, 7, 8 games, and they're third. You know what I mean? So like, that's got to be depressing on some level. There's 2 teams above them in this power ranking. Spoiler alert. And I just don't think they're that good. I really don't.
I don't think they're that good either. I think they have I really do think that their coaching stuff is very good. Very good.
Yeah. But they barely beat the Jaguars, who suck, and they barely beat the Bears, who suck. So
right. But their defense also has the ability to stop bleeding in a very impressive way. You give Jordan Love the ball for 40 minutes in a game, he can win the game.
He's also going to throw a big number.
Right.
So I think he's been really lucky in certain situational football situations, for lack of a better term, like as we've done this Packers season. It's just he's broken his way a couple of times.
Yep.
I mean, I don't want to say that what's going on with the Bears is bad luck, but like, I mean, it just never has broken our way. Except for against the Titans. We used all of our luck against the Titans because Will Levis just had a seizure and just started throwing it to the wrong team. We got really lucky in that game.
It has to be Matt Eberflus. Matt Eberflus is anti-football.
Yeah, well, he plays scared. I mean, he doesn't play to win. He plays not to lose. And I got no time for that. I would take all of Dan Campbell's mistakes, all of Dan Campbell's like situational mistakes, like down the stretch in the playoffs last year. I would take that for the culture that he's brought there because he's just not a pussy. And you just need that. You just need it.
Makes you miss Lovie Smith. I miss Lovie Smith.
Lovie Smith got fired after he went 10-6. I mean, he had brought them to a Super Bowl and brought them to another NFC Championship game. I mean, considering all the coaches we brought in there, all the white men that we brought in there to be our head coach ever since we fired Lovie Smith, it's not a good look, Chicago. It's not a good look because you brought in a carbon copy of the same Wonder Bread fuck to ruin the team ever since Lovie was our coach. And then Lovie Smith also still doing the Chicago Bears favors. When they told him they were firing him in Houston, he was like, yeah, fucking hold my beer. And he got us Caleb Williams. So like everybody can get fucked as far as I'm concerned. Lovie's still cooking for Chicago. Agent Lovie. Let's move on. On that note, the coach that I really wanted the Bears to get in the offseason is doing really well here in Los Angeles. Mr. Harbaugh, Jim, not John. Jim Harbaugh is doing really well, I think, and he's turning the Los Angeles. I was about to say San Diego. Los Angeles ages me, I think. Los Angeles Chargers into a very non-flashy, but a very well-run football team. He's getting the most out of his very athletic. I mean, you want to look at a Drake May prototype. You want to see Drake May become better. Aim for right now his next like plateau or his next like the next level he gets to. Try to get to Justin Herbert in a Jim Harbaugh offense over there. He's got the defense working. We knew that was going to happen, but the team just looks well run. And I think for good reason they've made the power rankings list here at number 9. I really genuinely think that they're talk about teams you don't want to see in the playoffs.
No, dude, in my power ranking, I had them at number 8. But I love this Harbaugh run offense. Let me add, first of all, fun fact. Can you believe that Jim is the younger brother?
No, he looks like a grandmother.
I swear to God, the younger Harbaugh. But
yeah, I don't know if I knew that. He looks like someone's grandma. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
I think he's great though. I think he's awesome. We should have brought him back here. He's Chicago through and through. He played here. I mean, how are you not gonna at least the phone didn't even ring?
Because they're the Bears.
That's crazy. That's fun. He would have come. He would have come. It would have looked great. He would have looked great in the Bears like regalia. He would have looked so good just like coaching this Bears team from the sidelines. It would have been such a different season. You just know
cold weather, puffy jacket.
Yeah. Oh. And like everything that's going on in Los Angeles is what I would love to see here in Chicago. But
but think about what's going on in Los Angeles. How many of those players on the offense do you know the name of? They don't have any studs running the offense other than Herbert, who I thought they were going to ruin last year. He's kept that kid alive. They're making fast passes. They're running the ball, slamming it down your throat, and letting the defense keep them in games. It's just,
they're also letting him be the best athlete on the field at times. Like there's times when he gets into open space, he runs so hard. Like he runs like he's trying to put his fucking legs through the bottom of the fucking Earth's core. And I'm like, I love that. Like he's just got like a great stride. And you can see that Harbaugh's including him in everything. Like he's like, here's what we're gonna do. Like they're running these like weird little fakes where he's like, all right, now pretend I'm drawing up a passing play. And like, this is what we're going to do. And then when they're mic'd up, you hear about it later, right? And you're like, oh, that's fucking clever. And he's rah-rahing him. He's like kind of in his face. He was like, hell of a play. Why? Because he understands, which I'm surprised there's people paid to be head coaches in this league that don't understand this. He understands that the quarterback position is played by the guy that needs to win you the game more often, right?
Yes.
Especially when we get down the stretch and try to make championship teams, because that's how the NFL works.
He's the guy you can't do it without. So you need his head to be in the right place.
Even like whatever talent level your QB has, you need to find a way to work with him. You need to find your most talented guy and I'm not saying Justin Herbert's not talented. I've always been up on him. I've always been high on Justin Herbert. I think he's going to be good. I always thought he was in such a bad coaching situation before this. It was absolutely insane. So, I mean, the only place to go was up. But, the the fact that they're cracking this list, I mean, they're starting to look like a genuine playoff team at this point. It's really starting to crystallize. Commanders, we touched on already briefly. They're, I feel like, on a little bit of a downswing. Those are two tough games. Playing Baltimore and Pittsburgh. I mean, that's hard, right? So where do you see them going? I do still think that the Cliff Kingsbury offense theory is in play. I think they're on a downtrend. I think you got to have Daniel start to go through more reads if you want to keep that offense clicking like it has been over. But it's not as if those games were lost by like massive margins or anything.
So we don't have the numbers, but I think the fans everyone listening should have an idea of this. When Dave says the Kingsbury end of season failure, we're talking like 10 seasons in a row. He's gone like 5-1.
Whatever job he's in, whatever job he's in.
Whatever job he's in as a coordinator, as a coach, he literally finishes seasons like dog shit. I'm going to be honest with you, Dave. If I were rewriting this list, I would have the Texans in here right below the Chargers at number 9, and I would have the Commanders right at that honorable mentions. I think we're watching their downfall. I think the team's going to get tired. I think you're watching a defense that's very well put together, but they're going to get exhausted because they're playing 40 minutes a game, trying to let Jaden Daniels figure it out. Jaden's looked like shit the past 2 weeks. He looks like maybe it's a hamstring or I don't know what it is. His passes are off. He looks timid and he's not taking off when he has the windows.
You're right. It's his ribs.
You're right. He had smashed his ribs, and that sucks. And that's a hard.
Been beat up for weeks. In fairness to him, I don't want to jump to their defense, but he has been beat up for a few weeks.
Right.
The Bears were tackling him way too conscientiously for how beat up he is as well. I was like, don't be so nice. Just let him know a little bit.
But like you also said, like it doesn't take a long time for these defensive coordinators to scheme a guy like him out, and that's what I think we're starting to see here. Cover the flats, cover the box, and let him sit in the pocket and make hard throws.
Yeah.
And so personally, I think that we're going to see them fall out of this top 10 very quickly.
That's interesting. I mean, I do think the Texans definitely still deserve to be in there just on the merit of them winning 7 games. The problem, I think, in Bobby's defense, the problem with the Texans is we all got really dour about them because I think we came into the season thinking really like high expectation stuff for the Texans. And we were kind of excited to see what CJ Stroud was going to do in his second year. We were all big fans of him and we all really enjoyed watching him play football. And it's been a little bit of a bummer how his performance specifically has been, some of the head coaching stuff, like the two things we loved the most about them last year. So I think it might be an emotional reaction a little bit about the Texans because we're all a little mad at the Texans right now. Yeah, I know they're beat up. If Tank Dell had played every game, I wonder, if or no, not even Tank Dell. What's the other guy's name? The really good
Nico Collins.
Nico Collins, like 9 fucking feet tall. That dude, it's like he looks like Will Chamberlain in the Conan movies. That guy, I am horrified. He's playing against my team, and he did play against my team. One of the few teams he suited up for this season. He is an absolute monster. That dude. Are you kidding me? The only other guy that I love as much as that guy this year is that guy Washington, the tight end for the Steelers. That dude's an absolute mountain of a man, and it's just like,
hell, dude?
Right? He's so big that Russ thought he was 9 feet tall when he threw that pick. It's like that guy is enormous. Surely he can go up, and it's like, dude, like the guy should have tried to make a play on the ball. I know, but like, and it was a bad pick from Russ. All of those.
Oh, rough being rough, baby.
Yeah, we'll talk about those things in a second, but yeah,
that's right. I think it's a little disrespectful. I think the Texans are going to show us that though.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'd like to see them pull it around. To me, it just seemed like Ray made the point on this show. Like it just doesn't seem like they quite have it this year, but we'll see him next year. We all sort of agreed with that vibe. But if you're still high on them, I'm ready to keep that pulse flowing. We can definitely make that a narrative. That's what we do. We are the music makers. We are the dreamers of dreams. But we have to move right along to the Vikings, who I don't think are good. And they've been hanging around this power ranking show for a while. We talked about them a little bit earlier. I did allude to the fact that I'm not very high on Sam Darnold, but it does seem like they have a good roster. We chatted about them already. Matt, it seems like, you're in a little bit of a good problem to have situation in the offseason. Do you bring the kid you drafted in? Do you keep going with Darnold? What do you do? I say, like, let the kid learn, just keep good. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But let's see what happens with this team as it goes. No reason that you can't pull him. You know what I mean? Like if he continues to have like a just even serviceable season, you can't pull him in the off season. So we'll see with them. I don't know about you, but I've always been pretty high on the Ravens when we're talking about them in the regular season, especially because this year they've been so fun to watch because of Derrick Henry and his big old bum. That wagon he's dragging is just killing NFL defenses left, right, and center. But unfortunately, he got fucked up by the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And I think I expected that. And I'm on record last week on the show saying I thought that's what was going to happen. And I like the Ravens. I think they're a lot of fun to watch, but it's serious football team time now, guys. It's real football team time, and I'm starting to see signs of that in the Steelers and some of the same old problems in the Ravens. I'm surprised that Russ didn't hit him harder with the deep ball, considering that's the thing they're weakest about, but he still did. And that just looks, if it comes through Pittsburgh, now that they've got this kind of 2-game cushion, if you're the Baltimore Ravens and you think you're going to the Super Bowl through the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're fucking delusional, my friend. This is not 2001. That's just not going to happen. I really don't think that. I just because of, I guess we talk about this all the time. Is it my era? Is it my era of growing up where I just like I have all these like franchise things stuck in my head that I just all these identities are just like they're where they're going to be forever, you know? But or am I crazy? Is it like no, it's Lamar Jackson versus Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's 57 years old. He's 94 and he's going to be 96 next year. So like how could he possibly win a playoff game against Lamar Jackson? Am I insane?
No,
I know I'm riding high.
For the bad teams, we're right because it's systematic. For these teams, it's not about the jersey. It's about the defense is putting Russ in a position where he has to play half the field. And if Russ is getting the ball at the 40-yard line, Russ is dangerous from there. His stat lines are so funny. He'll have 4 touchdowns and 200 yards passing. That's where Russ is a killer. He was like that with the Legion of Boom too. They would give him field position that could manage, and he's great.
I pose the question that this defense is actually theoretically could be the better defense than his prime Seattle defense. And I got yelled out of the room.
This defense is far and away the best defense in the league. And anyone that doesn't agree doesn't know what they're looking at.
You should watch better than the prime Seattle defense, though.
Well, I mean, so the prime Seattle defense was smothering at all points. This defense will give up the short pass and take away the long game and then sack you when you have to get the yards. So very different styles. But
yeah, but I like that though. Like I was just talking about this last week. I like the 3-4, a thing we've never run in Chicago. Obviously, you need to hit on your edge rushers, right? Like,
yep.
And the unfortunate thing is like when you have a Montez Sweat, you're not running the 3-4. You know what I mean? I don't think you're doing it. Like he's going to be on the end of a 4-3 with another guy on the other end, and it's going to be good. But it's so fun to watch like Highsmith and Watt. And then this other guy just came back off of IR and came in and just had just as good of a game as Highsmith might have had. Right. You know, like they have edge rushers for fucking days in Pittsburgh.
Literally,
like we used to laugh about. Yeah. And it's like then what you're just so flexible, right? Because Watt's such an athlete that he can just become a linebacker halfway to the quarterback and be like, I'm just going to swat that if you throw it. You know what I mean? Like he's just in your face at all times. So it's like a lot of fun to watch. And like that level of smothering, I think, I'm not sure those Seattle defenses ever achieved. It's tough to say that they're even close in the secondary though. Like that Seattle secondary was like one of the best I've ever seen. It's like pretty, they run away with that pretty hard actually. I like the secondary for this Pittsburgh team. I genuinely do. Except for that guy Bishop. I think people keep being like, he's doing great. And then he's like always at the scene of the crime. But they have good players.
I completely agree.
That was a really fun conversation about the Steelers that was supposed to be about the Ravens. And sorry about that, Ravens. You're just not box office this week. Sorry about that.
What do you think, honestly, though? Do you think Eagles or Ravens? If you had to pick one, flip a coin.
Oh, I would take the Ravens all day. I agree. Take the Ravens all day over the Eagles. There's something about the Eagles. Its name is Nick Sirianni. When you have the worst coach in football, they're not the worst. It's not even worse. There should be like worst coach in football award and also like dumbest coach in football award because Matt Eberflus is the worst coach in football right now. But Sirianni he's just like it's like, dude, you're dumb, right? Like, is that what's actually the problem? Like, is it that simple? Also, never trust a visor coach to be your head coach.
Nope.
You can never let a visor coach be your head coach. I defy somebody to send me a photo or a video of a visor coach lifting the Lombardi trophy with his stupid.
I got one.
Doug Peterson, did he have one on?
No, but there's another one who just got hired by Barstool. He got chased out of the league a couple of years ago.
Bill Belichick?
No.
John Gruden?
Yeah.
John Gruden.
For a while.
Did he win with a visor on?
He won. He won with
the visor on though?
Oh, I don't know if he had it on at the time, but he was the visor guy for a while.
I think the visor, it just repels championships. I just think it repels good football. I think that's the special power that the visor has. It was like Matt Nagy visor guy. Not as an OC in KC. Just straight ball to the wall. bald to the sky, bald all around. But no. But as the Bears head coach, he was like, I know what I'm gonna wear a fucking most of a hat. Get the shit out of here, dude. I'd be like, I'd fire him that day. If he didn't have a visor on the interview and he had never worn a visor before, and I was the president, day one he wears a visor, I'm like, you're out, dude. Pack your
Pack your
bags.
shit.
The Eagles, I mean, that brings us nicely onto them as we round out the end of the list here. We have a little game that we play with the top 4, but we might have to fuck around with it a little bit because there's 2, 3 and AFC teams, but we'll talk about it. The last part of this, talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, yeah, it's Sirianni, man. I just think that's the issue. I really do think they have a talented roster. No one's arguing that. They still probably have the best offensive line in the NFC, if not the league. And I think that's great that they like recovered from Jason Kelce leaving that well. I think they can still do all the same stuff that they were able to do offensive line wise. I think Jalen Hurts has balled out at times, but you still have to like, again, it's just that playoff football thing. It's just like, I wouldn't be too scared of seeing that.
You know, this is the only way I can explain it. They're the only team in our top 5 list that I feel like could lose any game at any time.
Yeah, I'm never like 100%. I wouldn't put my money on them, you know. I'm never like ready. And then they'll play well, and I'll be like, all right, but like you might not have. You know, you fucking might not have. We know you might not have. We're all aware that you could come in and lay a fucking egg at any. Because
100%.
even in these games, they've like had weird moments. You know, they've had bad first halves and they've had bad second halves, but never the twain has met in one game. You don't think that's gonna happen? You don't think that's gonna come at one point where they're gonna just pull off the trifecta?
Playoffs for.
Yeah, there's too many mistakes. We talked a little bit about the Steelers, but the top 4 is the Lions, the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Steelers. The Steelers have now scalped the team that was above them and crawled into their spot a few times. This list being made by a Patriots fan, Bobby's never one to toot the Steelers horn too much. You know, he's a Cowboys fan. The Patriots fans aren't fans of the Steelers. Bobby's a Cowboys fan. They're not fans of the Steelers. I feel like I'm the only guy here that's ever really defending them, so it's become a little bit of a hitching post for me. But we have the Lions, the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Steelers. I don't think anybody on this list is a genuine contender to beat the Lions to the Super Bowl in the NFC, right? I think the best chance somebody has is probably the Vikings, but you know, we've talked about them and like what they're really going to do. So who out of the remaining 3 AFC teams do you think has the best chance of getting there? Or if you want to think about it like this, who between the Bills and the Steelers has a better shot of beating Pat Mahomes in the AFC Championship game?
So,
and can the Lions beat whoever gets there after the gauntlet that AFC team comes through?
So, of course, the Lions could beat whoever gets there. It's football, and the Lions, you know, have been so much fun to watch. I'm so happy for them. Their miserable fucking loser fan base. And what a fucking turn of events. But let's be real here. You think that team in a Super Bowl versus Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes?
No, I'm taking the Chiefs every time.
I'm taking the Chiefs every fucking time. And you know what? And now that finally the Chiefs have been released of this torment, this we're injured, our offense isn't firing, and we're still beating these teams by the skin of our teeth. Now that the Bills have released them of that duty, try and chase something that they don't need to
play that game in second gear, to be like 100% honest with you. I'm like, no disrespect to the Bills. Like, it's a big win for them. But I thought they had a little bit more they could have done, and they were like, it's fine. We've won 9 games.
Big win for the Bills. I think it's a bigger loss for the Chiefs. I think you just unleashed the dog. They're getting pieces back for the playoffs. They know exactly who they are. They're better coached, and that defense is terrifying. They fly around the field, dude. For my money, the Chiefs are the number 2 right now, just because of how the Lions have played. But I see the Chiefs winning this with ease again.
Yeah, I know. Me too. I mean, that's the worst part. The problem is when you look at the Chiefs, if you really started to look at like what statistically their actual issues are, like they're winning very close games, which is, I think, cultural. You know, I mean, I just think they know how to win games. I think they have a really good head coach. I've always been really high on Andy Reid. I mean, the revisionist history on Andy Reid, I've enjoyed it, but everybody used to love shitting on him. And I was always like, I don't know. He's like always there though. You know, it's like he's always there. So like he's built like a lot of good teams and he gets really far. You don't think he's going to win like one of these? I think it's probably going to happen. But regardless of that, the worst thing that they're doing right now is their quarterback play.
Right.
And if I'm gonna, and that's just comparable to how he usually plays. So if I'm really gonna sit here and be like, "Oh, I don't know, they don't look as good." No, I'm not gonna sound like a fucking doofus. At least not over that. I've probably sounded like it other times, but I have no reason to think that Pat Mahomes can't just decide to start playing really good again when the playoffs come around. And he's still playing pretty good. He's just not playing like as good as he usually plays. He's throwing
Right.
more picks and making more
He's not
mistakes.
being superhuman. He's just playing pretty good.
Yeah, and I just think, yeah, once you get to the playoffs again, I mean, people forget because of how the Niners have looked this year, but that Niners team, when they were fully healthy and in that game, like, that was a crazy team. Like, they were so fucking stacked. Like, it would make no, and the Patrick Mahomes was like depleted at his skill positions, and he still was just like, we're just smarter and better, and we're gonna win. And that's why everyone started having the conversations they started having about him, because that's the kind of shit Tom Brady would do. Like,
Right.
he would go up against great rosters in the Super Bowl, and he would just still win. And it's like, that's scary when they do that. And I just have no reason to believe he's not gonna do it again.
I completely agree with you. I just something about it, man. He's that guy. He is an unbelievable quarterback. His coach is clearly the best in the league right now. Uh, I see no reason to not. I really do think them losing to the Bills, who are like, oh, the Bills, the team that can't get over the hump, finally, oh, they got a regular season win. It's all just playing out to that perfect AFC matchup where the Chiefs do it again. It reminds me of the Patriots.
You really could. That's impressive. Um, I think we've done it. I mean, we've power ranked, we've seen, we've power ranked. The conversation in the NFC is obviously still about who's going to be able to beat the Chiefs.
Yep.
My money, if it was going to be anybody, it genuinely would be on the Steelers.
Right now, I also think the Ravens can do it. I think the Ravens can beat any team.
Yeah, but how they put in the postseason, like just in years gone by, like they start to just sort of crack up. But you're right. I mean, like all the pieces are there. We'll see. Things are starting to form up, guys. Things are starting to really come together. We played a lot of teams have played 11. Some teams have played 10. This is the week 12 power rankings. Come back next week. We'll learn a lot. We'll forget some stuff.
Out there, your audio's dead.
Dreaming of the perfect event or longing for a clutter-free space? I'm Stephanie with I'm with Steph, where your vision becomes a reality. From magical weddings to transformative home organizing, we bring you expertise and passion to every project. Whether you're planning a grand celebration or seeking peace through organization, we tailor our services to meet your unique needs. I'm with Steph. To explore our services and connect with me directly, visit I'mWithSteph.com. Mention Electricast for a 20% discount.
Hello, folks. Earl Breon here, host of the Responsible Leadership Podcast, part of the Best Business Network on Electricast. You're looking for a show to bring you some of the best leadership advice from some of the top thought leaders around the globe. This is the show for you. You can find us on all the podcast platforms of choice or on social media by following me, Earl Breon, Breon.
Electricast. Electricast.